He didn't answer. Instead, he looked toward the horizon. Because I can hear them. Suddenly, a voice echoed inside his head, cold and identical to his own. You shouldn't have survived, brother. Eli froze. His vision blurred. Across the burning courtyard, he saw the other Eli standing on the academy roof, glowing blue eyes staring down like a ghost. Lyra followed his gaze. No, it can't be. The clone raised his hand and every drone in the sky turned toward them. I'll finish what we were created for, the clone's voice thundered through the comms. To cleanse this galaxy of weakness. Eli's anger boiled. You call compassion weakness? The clone smiled faintly. Yes. And I will take it from you, piece by piece. The sky erupted as hundreds of drones descended. Lyra pulled Eli behind cover, her telekinetic field glowing. We can't win this alone. Eli gritted his teeth. Then we find Kalith, or what's left of her. As they sprinted through the ruins, explosions tore through the academy grounds. Students screamed. Towers fell. The galaxy's most dangerous school had become a war zone. At the edge of the chaos, Lyra glanced back. The clone stood unmoving on the tower, surrounded by black fire. His voice whispered through the air again. Run while you can, brother. Soon there will only be one Eli. Eli stopped just long enough to whisper back. We'll see who the real one is. He turned toward the main spire, the silver key glowing faintly in his pocket, its pulse now synced with 2 heartbeats. The night sky over Valora Prime Academy burned red. Smoke coiled between shattered towers as explosions echoed across the campus. Eli Cross and Lyra Vex raced through the debris, ducking beneath falling steel beams and bursts of plasma fire. The enemy drones were everywhere, following the commands of the other Eli, the clone born from the vault. Keep moving, Lyra shouted. The command spire is ahead. Eli's eyes glowed faintly, the strange energy inside him reacting to the chaos. He could feel the enemy's thoughts, cold, precise, and merciless. It was his clone's mind, reaching into his own. Then, suddenly, a voice echoed inside his head. You can't win, brother. You were built to fail. I was built to rule. Eli clutched his head, falling to one knee. The world blurred around him. He saw flashes, scientists arguing, test tubes breaking, 2 children being separated by blinding light. Lyra grabbed his shoulder. Eli, stay with me. He opened his eyes, sweat dripping down his face. He's inside my head. I can feel his every move. Lyra helped him stand. Then use it. Turn his strength against him. Eli nodded slowly. For the first time, his fear began to fade. When they reached the command spire, the giant doors were half melted. Inside, the room was dark except for a single light flickering near the control core. And standing there, surrounded by fallen guards, was Headmistress Kalith. Kalith. Lyra gasped. She turned, her silver eyes dim but alive. I told you to run. Eli stepped forward. You knew this would happen. Kalith's voice softened. I hoped it wouldn't. But I knew the clone would awaken one day. You were both created from the same design. Human will mixed with alien precision. 1 heart, 2 destinies. Eli frowned. Why didn't you destroy him? Kalith looked away. Because I believed even a weapon could find its humanity. But now, she sighed, he's too far gone. Outside, a thunderous roar shook the spire. The clone had arrived. The main door exploded inward. And the clone stepped through the flames, calm, glowing with blue energy, eyes burning like frozen stars. Hello, Mother, he said coldly. Kalith's face tightened. Don't call me that. He ignored her and looked at Eli. It's time to finish this. One of us doesn't belong. Lyra stood between them. You're both wrong. You're not enemies. You're brothers. The clone tilted his head. Brothers? No, we are mirrors, and only one reflection can remain. He lifted his hand, and the air cracked. Every drone in the sky turned its weapons toward the spire. Kalith slammed her palm on the console. A shield rose over the building, barely holding. I can buy you a few minutes, she said. End this, Eli. Eli stared at his clone. You think perfection means power, but it's not. It's control. And I'm done being controlled, the clone smirked. Then prove it. They charged. Energy clashed, blue and white light tearing through the spire. Each strike shook the floor. Lyra tried to help, but the force of their blows was too strong. It was like watching 2 storms collide. Kalith watched in silence, tears glinting in her metallic eyes. Eli's punches grew slower. The clone's attacks sharper. Then, with one strike, the clone sent him crashing through the glass wall. Eli hung on the edge of the tower, sparks flying beneath him. The clone approached, eyes cold. "You're just the broken version." Eli's hand slipped. He looked down at the fiery ruins below and smiled. Maybe broken things can still save the world. He grabbed the silver key from his pocket and stabbed it into the ground. The whole spire glowed white. Kalith's eyes widened. "Eli, what are you—" A pulse of energy erupted from the spire, spreading across the academy. Every drone in the sky froze midair, their circuits flickering and dying. The clone stumbled. "What did you do?" Eli stood, weak but smiling. "I linked my code to yours. If I die, you die too." The clone's expression cracked, the first hint of fear. Lyra shouted, "Eli, stop! You'll destroy yourself!" Eli looked at her, his smile fading. "I already was destroyed, Lyra. This is me choosing who I am." The energy surge grew brighter, swallowing them both in white light. When the light faded, the drones were gone. The battle was over. Lyra crawled through the smoke, coughing. "Eli?" Kalith stood beside her, eyes filled with sorrow. "He did it. He saved us." But when the light finally dimmed, there were two figures lying among the rubble, both Eli and the clone, motionless. Lyra whispered, "Which one?" "Survived?" Kalith's gaze hardened. "We'll find out soon enough." The storm above Valora Prime Academy had finally ended. The air was silent, too silent. The once mighty towers lay in ruins, smoke rising into the dawn sky. The twin suns glowed faintly on the horizon, touching the battlefield with light that felt almost peaceful. Lyra Vex stood among the wreckage, her eyes red from dust and grief. Beside her, Headmistress Kalith moved slowly toward two still bodies lying near the shattered spire. Both looked like Eli Cross. Both were broken, covered in ash and dried blood. Lyra knelt beside them, heart pounding. "Please, please be alive." Kalith knelt too, scanning their vitals. "One of them has a pulse." The words hit Lyra like lightning. "Which one?" Kalith hesitated. "I don't know yet." She pressed a device against the nearest Eli's wrist. A faint heartbeat appeared, slow but steady. But his body began to glow with faint blue lines, the same energy the clone had used. Lyra's breath caught. "No, that's the wrong one." Kalith didn't respond. She checked the other Eli, but his pulse was gone, silent. His hand, though, still held the silver key, glowing faintly in his grasp. Tears filled Lyra's eyes. He really did it. He sacrificed himself. Kalith looked down at the glowing blue Eli. If this one lives, then maybe a part of the real Eli still exists inside him. But as the blue light faded, the boy opened his eyes. They were not cold and machine-like anymore, they were human. He blinked at Lyra. "Lyra?" Her heart stopped. That voice, it wasn't empty. It was his. "Eli?" she whispered. He smiled weakly. "Guess I'm still here." Lyra laughed through her tears, hugging him tightly. "Don't ever do that again, human!" He chuckled, voice faint. "No promises." Kalith watched silently, her eyes shining. "He merged with the clone," she said softly. The two halves became one, human heart and machine mind. The perfect balance. Eli looked at his hands, the faint blue glow fading into his skin. "So, I'm both?" Kalith nodded. "No, you're more. You're what the Helix Project was meant to create, a being who chooses his own destiny." He stood slowly, looking around at the ruined academy. "Then it's time to rebuild it." The Right Valora Prime Academy stood under new skies. The damage was repaired, and the surviving cadets trained once again, this time not for war, but for unity. Eli now walked the same halls he once feared. The girls who had once doubted him now saluted him with respect. Even Lyra, once his rival, now fought beside him as his equal. One evening they stood together on the balcony overlooking the twin suns. Lyra asked softly, "Do you ever think about him?" "The other you?" Eli nodded. "Every day. He's still part of me, his strength, his pain, his anger." He looked at her, eyes calm. "But the difference is I learned to smile through it." Lyra smirked. "That's the most human thing you've ever said." He laughed quietly. "Maybe, or maybe it's the most alien." She punched his arm lightly. Either way, you're impossible. He looked out over the galaxy stretching far beyond the academy walls. Maybe, but I'm also free. The wind carried his words into the starlit night. And as the light of two suns touched his face, Eli Cross, the only human boy who dared to enter the galaxy's most dangerous girl academy, smiled once more. Eli Cross and Lyra Vex stepped inside, their boots echoing across the floor. Kalith stood behind her crystal desk, arms folded, her silver eyes sharp as blades. "You disobeyed a direct order," she said calmly. "You entered a restricted area during a security alert." Lyra opened her mouth to speak, but Kalith raised a hand. "Silence. I'm talking to the human." Eli stood tall. "If I hadn't gone after that intruder, more students might have been hurt." Kalith's expression didn't change. "You think bravery excuses chaos? You were sent here to learn, not to start wars." Her gaze softened slightly. "But the intruder?" "Describe him." Eli told her everything. The cloaked armor, the red slit, the strange words. "You were never supposed to wake up." As he spoke, Kalith's face darkened. When he finished, she turned toward the wall. A secret panel opened, revealing a long, narrow chamber filled with cold blue light. "Follow me," she said. They descended into the lower levels of the academy, places no cadet had ever seen. The walls grew older, rougher, carved from black stone. Strange symbols pulsed faintly as they passed. "What is this place?" Lyra whispered. Kalith didn't answer until they reached a sealed door marked Project Helix. This academy was built on more than combat training. Kalith said quietly, "It was built to protect something, or someone." She looked directly at Eli. "You." Eli froze. "Me?" Kalith nodded. "Years ago, during the human expansion wars, Earth scientists created a hybrid soldier, a mix of human adaptability and alien resilience. You were the only survivor. When the program collapsed, the Federation wanted you erased. Instead, I hid you here, under another identity." Eli's heart pounded. "So I'm not just a student?" "No," Kalith said. "You're the last remnant of an experiment that could destroy the balance of the galaxy." Lyra stared at him, disbelief in her eyes. "You mean you're a weapon?" Eli shook his head slowly. "No, I'm human." But deep down, a memory flickered. Pain, light, the feeling of being rebuilt. Before Kalith could explain further, the lights flickered out. The ground trembled. A robotic voice boomed through the speakers. "Project Helix. Access granted." Kalith's eyes widened. "No! Someone's breached the lower core!" From the darkness beyond the sealed door came the sound of mechanical footsteps, dozens of them. Red lights flared one by one, forming a line of figures marching toward them. Lyra stepped forward, her energy field glowing around her hands. "They're here for him." Eli clenched his fists. "Then they're not leaving with me." Kalith pulled a silver key from her robe and handed it to Eli. "This leads to the central vault. Go now. If they take you, everything we built will burn." Eli hesitated. "What about you?" Kalith smiled faintly. "Someone has to stall them." The door exploded behind them. Dozens of dark soldiers stormed through, their armor identical to the hunters. Lyra grabbed Eli's arm. "Move!" As they ran down the narrow corridor, sirens screamed. The academy above shook. Energy fields cracked and shattered. Eli looked back once, just long enough to see Kalith standing alone against the invading shadows, light blazing from her hands. Then the blast hit, and the hallway collapsed between them. Dust filled the air. Lyra pulled Eli forward. "We can't stop!" she shouted. "We have to reach that vault." Eli nodded, gripping the silver key tightly. He didn't know what was inside the vault, but he knew one thing for sure. Whatever it was, the truth about who he really was waited behind that door. Dust still hung in the air as Eli Cross and Lyra Vex ran through the cracked tunnels beneath Valora Prime Academy. Behind them, explosions shook the walls. The sound of mechanical footsteps followed like thunder. The silver key in Eli's hand pulsed faintly, pointing the way through the maze of corridors. "How much farther?" Lyra shouted. Eli glanced at the glowing symbols on the walls. "Almost there, I think." They turned a corner and stopped. Before them stood a massive door of black metal covered with human and alien markings. Half Earth language, half something else. In the center was a slot shaped exactly like the key Kalith had given him. Eli slid it in. The door hummed, and a deep voice, neither human nor machine, spoke. Identity recognized. Helix Unit 01. Lyra's eyes widened. Helix Unit 01? That's you? Eli didn't answer. The door split open, revealing a room glowing with cold white light. Rows of glass tubes lined the walls, each containing fragments of armor, wires, and human DNA samples. In the center stood a floating pod. Inside it, a boy. He looked exactly like Eli. Lyra gasped. That's impossible. Eli stepped closer. The boy inside the pod was motionless, eyes closed, his body marked with the same faint scars Eli had on his arms. On the screen beside it, text flickered. Project Helix status. Subject Joe 1, active. Subject Joe 2, dormant, Eli whispered. There were two of us, Lyra frowned. Then who's in the pod? The real you or the copy? Before Eli could reply, the lights flickered again. The holographic interface activated, showing Kalith's image, recorded years ago. If you are seeing this, the Academy has fallen. The Helix project was meant to save humanity from extinction, but our allies feared it. They wanted to destroy the prototypes. I hid one here disguised as a student, hoping he'd live a normal life. But if the other awakens, he will destroy everything. Lyra stared at Eli. So you're the one she saved. Eli nodded slowly. And that thing in the pod is the one she couldn't. The floor trembled again. The soldiers were close. One of the ceiling panels burst open, and a mechanical hand clawed through the metal. Lyra pulled Eli behind a console. We can't fight all of them. Eli's eyes fell on a control pad near the pod. Two options blinked. Release Subject 02, erase Subject 02. He hesitated. If he erased the other version, maybe the invaders would lose their purpose. But something inside him whispered, he's still you. Lyra grabbed his arm. Eli, we don't have time. Choose. Before he could decide, the pod cracked open on its own. White mist poured out. A figure stepped forward, calm, tall, eyes glowing faintly blue. He looked at Eli and smiled. So, you're the one who got to live free. Eli froze. It was like looking into a mirror twisted by purpose. The clone's voice was colder, sharper. I am what you were meant to be, the clone said. Perfect, controlled, obedient. And I'm what they couldn't control, Eli replied. The clone raised his hand. Energy rippled through the vault, sending consoles flying. Lyra barely shielded herself as sparks rained down. The two versions of the same boy stood face to face, light and shadow clashing in their eyes. Lyra shouted, Eli, if you fight him here, this whole place will collapse. Eli didn't move. Then we end this before anyone else gets hurt. The clone smiled. You can't end what you were created from. Their fists met, releasing a shockwave that shattered the glass tubes. The power surge roared through the room, machines screaming, lights dying, until everything went white. When the light faded, Lyra crawled out from the wreckage. The vault was silent. Only smoke and broken steel remained. But both versions of Eli were gone. Only the silver key lay on the floor, its glow fading, pulsing weakly like a dying heart. Lyra picked it up, whispering, Which one survived? Silence filled the ruins beneath Valora Prime Academy. The vault that once held secrets now burned with blue fire and falling dust. Lyra Vex stood alone among the wreckage, her hands shaking as she held the fading silver key. Eli? She called out softly. Answer me, no reply. Only the distant hum of damaged systems trying to stay alive. Then, from the smoke, a shadow moved. A figure stumbled forward, half his uniform torn, face covered in ash. Lyra ran to him. Eli! He looked up, eyes dim but alive. I made it. She pulled him close. You scared me, human. But something in his gaze felt different. His voice was calm, too calm. His movements, precise, mechanical. Before Lyra could speak, he turned to the broken pod and whispered, He's gone. Who? Lyra asked. Eli stared at the melted glass. The other me. But as he said it, deep beneath the metal floor, something pulsed. A heartbeat, slow, mechanical, alive, above, at the Academy surface. The once bright towers of Valora Prime were under siege. Black ships floated in the red sky, raining plasma fire. The Academy's defense shields flickered, struggling to hold. Students fought across the courtyards, energy blades, psychic waves, and lightning clashing against mechanical drones. Headmistress Kalith's voice crackled through the comms. All cadets fall back to the command spire. Protect the core. No one knew if she had survived the blast below, but her orders still echoed like a war drum. Among the chaos, Eli and Lyra emerged from the tunnels. The sky burned above them. Lyra gasped. "They've already invaded." Eli's eyes narrowed. "Then we fight," she hesitated. "You've changed. Your aura, it's colder." He looked at her, expression unreadable. "Maybe that's what it takes to survive." In the shadows nearby, far from the battlefield, inside a crashed escape pod, another figure awakened. His skin burned with faint blue lines, the same lines Eli once had. The clone opened his eyes. "I remember everything," he whispered. "They wanted one weapon. Now they have two." He clenched his fist, and the ground cracked beneath him. Back on the surface, Eli led a squad of cadets through the fire-filled halls. His commands were sharp, perfect. Too perfect, Lyra noticed. Every move he made felt calculated. No hesitation, no emotion. "Eli," she said between blasts, "how do you know the enemy's positions before they strike?" No one in the galaxy had ever seen a human boy walk through the gates of Valora Prime Academy. The school feared across 12 star systems. It was known for one thing: training the most powerful and dangerous girls in the universe. They were warriors, assassins, psychic soldiers. None of them ever smiled. Until today, a ship descended from the black sky and landed in the academy courtyard. From its silver hatch, a young human stepped out. His name was Eli Cross, and he was smiling. The girls stopped their training. Laser swords hummed. Gravity fields shimmered. Every pair of eyes focused on him. "Is this a joke?" one of them whispered. "He's human. Weak. Fragile," another said, but Eli didn't flinch. He walked through their stairs like a soldier through fire. He had faced worse than this, he thought. At least he hoped so. Standing at the gate, Headmistress Kaleth, a tall alien woman with silver skin and eyes like frost, studied him in silence. "You must be the one from Earth," she said. "You understand where you are standing?" "Yes," Eli replied calmly. "In the most dangerous academy in the galaxy. And you still want to join?" Eli nodded. "That's why I came," Kaleth smirked. "Very well, human. But remember, no boy has ever lasted a single day here." The gates closed behind him. Inside, the academy pulsed with alien energy, floating halls, zero-gravity training chambers, and creatures with glowing tattoos sparring in silence. The air smelled like ozone and danger. When Eli entered the dorm hall, whispers followed him like shadows. Every girl wanted to know who he was and why he wasn't afraid. That night he found his room already occupied. A girl sat there, her violet eyes sharp like blades. "You're in my room," she said flatly. "No, I was assigned this one." "Then the academy must want you dead." Her name was Lyra Vex, the academy's top student, a telekinetic who once crushed a battle drone with a single thought. Eli set his bag down slowly. "Then let's hope I survive the night." Lyra's lips curved into a strange smile. "We'll see, human." Outside, thunder rolled across the twin moons. Somewhere in the shadows, a cloaked figure watched his every move. "Target has entered the academy," the voice whispered into a communicator. "Proceed with the plan." And as Eli closed his eyes for the first time at Valora Prime, he had no idea that the real danger wasn't the girls around him, but something far worse hiding inside the academy itself. When the twin suns rose over Valora Prime Academy, every student was already awake. The metallic halls buzzed with low energy, preparing for the day's training session, the one every newcomer feared. But for the first time in the academy's long history, the whispers weren't about who would fail. They were about the human boy. Eli walked into the main training dome, his uniform still crisp, his calm expression confusing everyone. Around him, hundreds of girls, each from different species, stood in a perfect circle. Their eyes glowed with strange colors: blue fire, gold lightning, crimson rage. Above them, Headmistress Kaleth's voice echoed through the speakers. "Cadets, today we welcome an unusual participant. A human male. He believes he can endure Valora's trials. Let us test his belief." Laughter rippled through the crowd like static. Some girls smirked. Others looked hungry, eager for a challenge. Kaleth continued. "The first test, the Gauntlet of Shadows. Survive 5 minutes inside the simulation. No weapons. No help." Eli stepped forward. His pulse raced, but his smile remained. Lyra Vex, standing at the front, tilted her head. "If you die, I'm taking your room." "I won't die that easily," Eli said quietly. The floor beneath him split open, revealing a chamber filled with dark mist. The moment he stepped in, the walls closed. Total silence. Total darkness. Then the ground moved. Something fast brushed past him. A flash of light, then claws. The simulation created his enemies from pure energy, shadow beasts with glowing eyes. They attacked without mercy. Eli ducked, rolled, and punched. But his hits passed through the creatures like smoke. They're illusions, he realized. So, fear is the weapon. He closed his eyes. Instead of running, he slowed his breathing. The beasts circled closer, but Eli did not move. In the control room above, instructors leaned forward. He's not fighting back, one whispered. He's surrendering, another said. But then the mist began to shift. The beasts hesitated. The sensors read something unusual. Eli's heart rate was steady. In the darkness, Eli smiled again. If this test feeds on fear, then I'll give it nothing. The shadows shrieked and collapsed into ash. The simulation ended. When the chamber doors opened, Eli walked out, covered in dust but alive. The entire hall went silent. Even Calith seemed surprised. No human reflexes could have beaten that, murmured one instructor. Lyra folded her arms, hiding a faint smirk. Interesting. Calith stepped closer. How did you know how to survive? Eli shrugged. Sometimes the hardest battle is staying calm. Before she could respond, an alarm blared through the academy. Red lights flashed, code black, unauthorized presence detected, students froze. Security drones zipped through the halls. Calith barked orders, but Eli noticed something strange. One of the drones hovered behind him. Its scanners pointed directly at his chest. Then the voice from the night before whispered through the comms again. Target located. Proceed with Phase 2, Eli's eyes narrowed. Whoever they weren't part of the academy. Suddenly the drone exploded in front of him. The blast knocked him backward and smoke filled the dome. The students screamed. Through the chaos, Eli caught a glimpse of a cloaked figure on the balcony, a shape he recognized only from nightmares. Lyra grabbed his arm. Who's after you? I wish I knew, he said. Calith's voice thundered over the alarms. Everyone to lockdown! Cadet Cross, stay where you are! But Eli didn't stay. He looked up at the burning balcony. No, I'm not running anymore. And before anyone could stop him, he sprinted straight toward the danger. Smoke curled through the ruined training dome. Sparks fell from the ceiling like dying stars. Students were coughing, running for cover. But Eli Cross kept moving toward the balcony where the cloaked figure had stood. He could still feel the echo of that whisper in his head. Target located. Whoever that voice belonged to. It wasn't one of the academy's teachers. He reached the upper deck, boots crunching on broken glass. The place was empty now, except for the faint glow of melted metal. A single silver dart lay on the floor, humming with faint blue light. Eli picked it up. His visor, standard issue for cadets, flashed a warning. Unknown tech, origin classified. That meant only one thing. Whoever had sent that drone was not just spying. They were testing him. Behind him, the sound of footsteps. Human, you never listen. It was Lyra Vex, her violet eyes glowing faintly. You followed me, Eli said. Of course. I don't like mysteries that can kill me in my sleep. She examined the dart, her telekinetic field flickering around it. This isn't Academy tech, she muttered. Someone wants you gone. Or wants me to remember something, Eli whispered. Lyra frowned. Remember? Eli hesitated. Images flashed in his mind, memories that weren't clear. A white room, scientists arguing, a burning planet, and a voice saying, Send the prototype to Valora. Let's see if he survives. His head throbbed. I don't know. Before Lyra could press him, the wall behind them rippled open like water. A shadow stepped through, a tall, armored figure cloaked in black nanofabric. Its helmet was featureless except for one red slit of light. Eli Cross, the figure said. You were never supposed to wake up. Lyra instantly raised her hand, forming a telekinetic barrier. The air bent around her. Who are you? She demanded. The figure ignored her. Return with me. The experiment must continue. Eli clenched his fists. I'm done being anyone's experiment. Eli dodged, barely avoiding a strike that carved a glowing scar into the metal floor. He grabbed a fallen training rod, energy flickering along its edge, and met the next blow head-on. Sparks erupted as metal met plasma. You're stronger than expected, the hunter said, pressing forward. The human upgrade worked. What upgrade? Eli shouted, forcing the blade aside. The hunter twisted his wrist. A shockwave exploded outward. Eli flew across the deck, slamming into the railing. His vision blurred, but before the hunter could finish him, Lyra reappeared, fury burning in her eyes. "You don't touch my roommate." With a scream, she unleashed a telekinetic blast so powerful it cracked the balcony. The hunter stumbled, but instead of falling, he vanished into a cloud of black dust. Silence fell. The alarms had stopped. The only sound was Eli's rough breathing. Lyra helped him up. "Still think you can survive here, human?" Eli smiled weakly. "I'm starting to believe I have no choice." They looked at the dart still pulsing on the floor. Calith's voice came through the intercom again. "Cadet Cross, Cadet Vex, report to my office. Now," Lyra whispered. "We're in trouble." Eli picked up the dart and slipped it into his pocket. "Yeah," he said, staring at the dark horizon beyond the dome. "But maybe we're not the only ones. Because somewhere in the Academy's data core, hidden beneath layers of code, the same red slit of light flickered again. The hunter hadn't retreated. He had transferred. And this time, he wasn't coming alone. The door to Headmistress Calith's office slid open with a hiss. Inside, the air was cold, heavy with the scent of steel and ozone. The walls shimmered with holographic maps of galaxies, battle reports, and training data.